Welcome to the Suffolk Walking Festival podcast, where we guide you around the footpaths and bridleways of Suffolk to discover what makes this county so very, very special. I'm David Falk, the director of the Suffolk Walking Festival, and in each episode of this podcast, I'll be meeting someone who shares our passion for walking in Suffolk. In this episode, I join Lesley Dolphin, the afternoon presenter on BBC Radio Suffolk and the patron of the Suffolk Walking Festival, for one of her daily walks around Landguard Nature Reserve. Lesley, thank you so much for joining us on the Suffolk Walking Festival podcast. This is absolutely stunning. Where are we?
So we are just about to enter the Landguard Nature Reserve. We've come from the Felixstowe side, so the area called the Butts, which is where they used to do rifle range practice and so on. And as you come up this hill on the concrete path, you look out in this vista. It's amazing. You've got the reserve itself, you've got the sea to the left, you've got to see the Stena line going out, another one just heading out from the river, and to your right you've got the port. So you
such
have
a contrast.
Yeah, it is, but it's such a vista, and every day I stop here and draw a breath and think this is wonderful.
I think this is a real place of contrast. As you just said, we've got Felixstowe Port just to our right with all the stuff happening there, and then in front of us this idyllic scene of the reserve with its closely cropped grass. There's a lot of rabbits here, I think, and then there's little, I know in sometimes here there's little red flowers which are scarlet pimpernels.
Yeah, I've seen some of those as well.
And then also all this military history as well, with the forts just ahead of us, and behind us we walk past a Martella Tower further back as well. Then the other end of Felixstowe, you've got Old Felixstowe with the links golf courses.
I love Felixstowe as a place to live because of that, and I have walked from one end to the other, and you pass through all sorts of different areas. You've got the sort of near the Fludgers, it's sort of the Southwoldy potter area as well. You've got the creatives at Felixstowe Ferry. At this end, it's a working port, so you just have you have it all together.
And I don't think people often realise there's a nature reserve right here, right next to the town. It's sort of a hidden gem almost. And
I mean, apparently, and I've learnt this on earlier walking festivals because you've been here before, I mean, vegetated shingle, there are only 3 areas of it in the whole of the world, and this is one of them.
Yeah, here, Japan, and is it North America as well? Somewhere in North America, I think, I'm not sure. But yes, it's a really rare and unusual and unique environment itself. It's absolutely really special. You walk here every day, so what's it like through the year? It must change dramatically from one season to the next.
I've only been doing it since last October, so I have seen it go from lovely weather through the winter, sort of fairly bleak, where you can get some really big waves and wild weather, but I love that.
Yes.
Sometimes I almost like it better. The dog isn't quite so keen. And we're coming now into the summer season as well, where you'll get more people, but see the birds start to sing, or hear the birds start to sing, and they're going to be starting to nest. So you do see the full cycle.
And that being by the coast, that adds another dynamic to it, doesn't it? Because if you go walking regularly in the countryside, you see the change in seasons. But here it's a bit more extreme, I think, more dramatic. If there's a storm coming in off the coast, you really feel it, you know, the spray of the sea and the sound of the waves and so on.
Every time when I step out and I come here, I just stop and I think, I live here.
Lucky you.
It's just so amazing. It could be anywhere in the world, couldn't it, in a way?
So is this a walk you do regularly?
So this is my daily walk, I have to say. Since we got the dog last October, I've trialled various places, but he prefers, as you can tell, to be on his own. He's not so good with other animals.
I think he was just
so I avoid other people and animals. And it's just wonderful. As you see, I've got my binoculars, so I've even started to try and learn what some of the birds are. Someone coming on his bicycle, and the dog might bark. Excuse me, podcast, if this happens.
No, dog seems calm. The dog only barks at other dogs, I've noticed.
Yes, he quite likes people. He's not so keen on other dogs.
He's been instantly friendly this morning, actually. He wanted a cuddle straight away. But 2 dogs. We'll probably get a bark now. Does he get excited by the rabbits that are here? There's a lot of rabbits here.
They taunt him.
They
sit. There are babies at the moment, and they just sit next to their patch of brambles and ask for him to go and chase them. And the minute he even looks interested, they just dive into the brambles.
I love the fact there's a huge Stena ferry going past us as well.
Well, the first time I came down here and we'd moved to Felixstowe and I walked across, I just couldn't, because they're silent as well, aren't they?
Yes,
and it looks
no
like
noise.
it's part of the land right at the very end. There's just this silent big ship. And sometimes I just marvel as you get the big container ships come in and you see the tugs pulling them in and out and steering them safely in.
Yes.
So it's, as you say, it's a huge place of contrast.
It really is. And as you say, it's silent. But there's this humongous thing just going
Steam.
past us. Yeah, with the steam coming out the top, and it looks like a block of flats. It sort of makes you feel quite
gently
small.
moving past,
Gently moving. I love it. Just ahead of us is the fort, which of course in the war was a lookout post. Now I think there's a lookout post for birds.
There's a bird observatory, and as we get further down you'll see people standing there with their binoculars.
Oh, wow.
There's someone who goes and does a survey every day. There's a board that will tell us what they've spotted so
brilliant.
far today as well.
We'll have a look. And they're famous here for migrating birds, but I read once ages ago they get migrating moths.
They open a moth trap and they've started to put those on their blog as well. So it's not been, as far as I understand it, I'm no expert, but it has not been a good period season because of the weather for migratory birds or moths and so on, because it's been so cold.
Yes, it's been extremely cold this year, isn't it? In fact, today's gorgeous, but this is about the first really warm day we've had this year, and it's May the 11th.
Although I gather if it's clear and warm like this, birds that are migrating will carry on to their site. It's when it's cloudy and horrible that they have to drop down and they get a bit of a rest here as well. Yeah.
They get ringed plovers here, don't they? They nest actually amongst the shingles. They fence bits off, I think.
There is a lot fenced off now. I was able to walk along quite a lot of it earlier on, but they fenced it now. And I've seen ringed plovers, wheat ears, which I thought were brown little things until I spotted them, and they're beautiful.
Yes,
really beautiful. And I think I've seen linnets as well, but I'm rather hoping you might be able to tell me what we're looking at.
A reddish colour to them.
Pinkish chest,
pinkish chest, that's right. They're absolutely gorgeous.
It's an oyster catch right here.
Oyster catchers, yeah. There's a flock of them flying over.
If you look over to the left, you've got a boardwalk that rises up over the shingle, and you come over and you see the sea. And on a day like today with the sea sparkling, and then you can come over that and you can see when there's really huge waves and it's grey and blowy.
It's really dramatic. And the boardwalk means actually you could go over that on a wheelchair, I guess, or with a pushchair, couldn't you? So it's accessible as well.
Yeah, and there are more wheelchair accessible parts to it as well. So it is, if you park, you can
get through. In fact, just ahead of us there's a chap in a wheelchair exploring, which is fantastic because a lot of beaches aren't really accessible for people in wheelchairs, and this one is. He looks like he wants to go in the sea, but isn't quite sure.
I'm not sure he ever has. I'm not sure when we first got him last year, I don't think he's ever seen the sea.
Really?
So if you look at the moment, when the waves land and go plop, he wants to chase them and bark at them. So you see like that as well. He loves it, doesn't he? And I haven't been able to do it in the winter because it's been really, I guess the water's probably still quite cold, but he looks as if he loves it, doesn't he?
He absolutely is adoring it. His tail's wagging, he's barking at the waves, he's loving it.
I've got a kayak that I go out. I'm only a fair weather kayaker, but I do wonder if he'll sit in the front of the kayak when I go out.
So if I'm down here and I see somebody in the kayak with a dog on the kayak,
it might be us. I need a life jacket for him just in case, don't I?
Lesley, we've come down to almost the point of Landguard Point, and it is just, the sea's a bit like a mill pond at the moment.
Well, and look at the way the blue sky is reflecting in the water. I mean, the colour of the water changes every day. I mean, I was down here and it was chucking it rain and blowing a hoolie the other day, and there were white tops to the waves, big waves splashing up, and yet today it's glorious, a mill pond.
It really is, and we're looking across to Harwich with the sun on it. Harwich has never looked so pretty to me.
From across the river, and you've got a couple of sailing boats as well, and to our right you've got the dock as well. You've got Felixstowe port, a couple of big container ships there.
I think they get some of the biggest container cleanest ships in the world up here, don't they?
They can.
Which is quite impressive. And we can see far in the distance. There's very little haze actually, so we can see right across towards Shotley and the marina over there. Harwich, as I just said, and as you go around the coast, we can see all the way over towards Walton-on-the-Naze. The visibility is fantastic.
There's a dog down there having a swim, early morning swim.
I've noticed that it's a very popular place for dog walkers and for early people who were going around. We just passed a couple and they were bird watching, so it's a really popular spot just for local walks.
It is lovely that the reserve allows that, isn't it? Because some reserves wouldn't, and we have to respect the reserve, because I'd hate to lose the chance to be able to come and walk here. I always keep him on his lead, as you're meant to do as well, and so on. I saw a seal, there was a seal
really?
The other week. I haven't seen one lately.
We just saw a couple of shell ducks fly over us, didn't we?
They've been roosting here. I don't know whether they're regulars, but they've been here a couple of weeks. You walk up. If I come up early in the morning, which I don't do that often at the moment, but you get to see vastly more bird life and so on.
Yes, we're getting into that time of year though, where an early morning walk as we head into summer must be absolutely bliss down here. Will be bliss.
If it gets really hot, I shall come early in the mornings for the dog, I guess, as well.
There's some chaps ahead of us with the digger and stuff, which makes me think this is a really dynamic coastline actually. I've come down here after a storm and the shingle banks have formed where there were never shingle banks before. It's really unusual for that.
So it's fascinating walking along the coast here, because one day you'll find the shingles all piled up where the waves have pushed it up, and then you get a gentle day like today and it all flattens out again, so it does change every day. It
does. I was reading also there's a fascinating bit of history about this spot. I think I'm right in saying this is the last. Is that a seal?
No, that's a buoy.
Oh, that's a buoy. Anything round bobbin, I think straight away there's a seal.
The first time I came down, that was my thought as well.
That seal's not moving. I was reading about Felixstowe and Landguard. It's the last place that there was a seaborne invasion.
A proper invasion.
Invasion. Yeah. And it was the Dutch who tried to invade, and they hit those shingle banks, and that stopped them from invading properly. And when they did get on shore, they then had to push their cannons over the shingle, which is hard enough walking over shingle, let alone pushing a cannon over shingle.
Well, behind us, so if we look back towards the port, you've got the bird observatory in one of the old buildings, but you have got the fort.
Yes.
And there are moves at the moment to tie all of this together to make it more of a visitor attraction, because if you go around the fort, it is fascinating, the history from Napoleonic wars right through to Second World War. As you can see, the tank traps here, a lot of the gun emplacements, so it's got a fascinating history.
And there's a museum, isn't there, like a social history museum alongside it.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. They've got fantastic displays and old photographs showing the history of the whole area. They used to get paddle steams, or was it paddle steams or steamers they used to get coming up the coast here?
Yeah, you've got the pier here, and they'd have paddle steamers that would stop off and take you to and from. You could go to London, all sorts of places.
Amazing, and went up the coast as far as sort of Southwold, I think. Yeah. And I'm right in thinking the paddle steams were called Bell paddle steamers, Belle.
I don't know that.
I think they were. And what was funny is on the way down here this morning, I was following a Bell coach, and I thought, really? Oh, isn't that wonderful that the name has stayed all these sort of decades later? The name's still with us. It's brilliant. Lesley, there's a swan.
I've not seen a swan here before. You've brought them with you, look.
It's extraordinary. It's a swan just swimming.
It's so calm, isn't it? That it's in the sea, so it must have come up the river, do you think?
It must have done. It's just such an unusual sight.
And in between as well, look, they've now fenced off the bird nesting areas.
Yes, there, look, there's a ringed plover just moving around. Can you see?
Oh, yes, really
that's
close
a ringed
to
plover.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that gorgeous?
There's another one out on the beach.
And there's another one over there. So there's fenced areas to sort of stop you going in there, I guess.
I think because ringed plovers, don't they nest on the beach? There's
on the shingle.
a swallow's just flying out to sea as well. I saw a swallow a couple of weeks ago, so swallows collecting insects as well.
It feels like spring, doesn't it? It really does today.
It's a lovely day. Today is
I think this
really good day.
Almost the first week where it's actually really warmed up and the temperatures in the teens. I heard a cuckoo the other day.
I haven't heard one yet.
I was excited.
Got the swifts have come back home.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I'm just hoping they might one day look at my nest boxes. I keep playing the sound effects. The neighbours must be getting very mad.
How do you play the sound?
Well, I've got a Bluetooth speaker and the sound on my phone, so I'll put the one inside and then the one outside.
And it plays what, the sound of swifts?
I'll do it for you later. later. Yeah,
I'm looking
it's
forward
just
to
a
it.
screeching sound, a swift.
And what do the neighbours say? They're okay.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. I used to live next to someone that had wind chimes, which are really fun, aren't they? There was a big thing about wind chimes years ago, but gosh, it was annoying in the middle of the night.
Just to suddenly hear that.
Stop
I
that
don't play
noise.
my swift noises in the night. You're all
Oh,
right.
that's good. Lesley, can I ask you, have you always lived in Suffolk?
No. I grew up mostly, dare I say, in Norfolk.
Okay.
It's only this part of the world. I've lived in
East
Suffolk.
Anglia.
Yeah, East Anglia. I moved to Suffolk when my boys were very little, so in the 1980s.
Right,
and
yeah.
For 20 years I lived across in the west of the county.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just saying as we were walking, weren't we? We're very lucky in Suffolk. So many different areas. And the west doesn't get the same press as the east because you've got the coast along here. But West Suffolk is glorious. And you've got the villages like Lavenham, Long Melford,
Yes.
which is where I lived. But you've got the lovely rolling countryside around Heartis, some beautiful villages. And then you've got you of course worked for a while, didn't you, in Brandon, and you've got the Brecks. And so we've got our lovely rivers, and we've got such a wide variety of landscapes. That's what I love about Suffolk.
I find it amazing. We've been in the county for 20 years now, and the last weekend just gone, we discovered a new place to walk, and it feels like there's a never-ending variety of walks to do and places to discover in the county. You never stop discovering somewhere new.
And some of those walks, if you take them just in the countryside, you can be 5 minutes away from a house, and you think,
Yes.
I don't know where the nearest road is. Like we're in the middle of nowhere. We've done that on the walking festival.
Yeah, we
haven't you?
have,
You can
we
think,
have,
where
yes.
am I in Suffolk? This is just amazing.
Well, that's one of the beauties of the festival. People discover things on their doorstep that they didn't know were there. We were able to take them through landscapes and places or see villages, and it's a real revelation for people that live in the county who didn't know what was on their doorstep, which I think is really great. A bit like here at Landguard, people not realising how important this place is and how special it is as well. And the other interesting thing of the last year, of course, not being able to travel abroad, people have stayed in the country for their holidays, and I'm hoping that stays. That feeling of wanting to holiday at home remains, because it is quite special what we've got on our doorstep. And I've got friends, and maybe you've done it yourself, we live in Suffolk, but they go on holiday in Suffolk, which I think is a really fun thing to do. I've got friends who've gone away for a weekend in Albury or Southold or somewhere just to be local and experience the landscape.
My boys used to get really fed up when I used to live in Ipswich, and we'd go down to Bridgewood on the Orwell there, and I used to say to the boys, just look at this. If you were on holiday, you'd be saying how fantastic this is. And then they didn't want to go for a walk, but I say, look, it's amazing, and they love it now, so it worked. But it's true, isn't it? Look at this. If you were on holiday, you would
magic.
just be so amazed.
It would be, definitely. Lesley, what's that over there?
Do you mean the duck or the wheat here?
Well, we've got sunbathing shell ducks.
They're really right in the middle, aren't they?
Yeah, just soaking up the sun. And then there's a bird on its own.
I think it's a wheat here.
Yeah,
We've just been looking at some others. They're amazing, aren't they?
Really colourful. They've got that sort of caramel sort of chest and the sort of a streak across its eye, which is really beautiful.
And it's the blue and the bluey sort of grey slate heads as well.
That's stunning.
And the way they run along, sort of lean forward and run along the floor.
And we saw 3 just a minute ago, and they weren't scared of us really, were they? No. We got really close to them, even though we've got a dog with us as well.
I don't know enough about birds at the moment, or the reserve, so I don't know whether they nest here, but they've been here several weeks now, and they've sort of grown in numbers, so whether they're migrating to elsewhere or whether they'll nest, I don't know.
Who knows? Lesley, I was going to ask you about challenging walks, because I know you've done some quite impressive challenging walks. Tell me about a walk you did in Africa.
So, that was my first ever real challenging walk, I have to say. Yeah, we did Kilimanjaro. It's when we were raising money for the Children's Hospice, and a friend happened to say he was planning to go, and would I go? And I just found myself saying yes.
Just like that?
I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. I mean, the difficulty about that walk was more the lack of oxygen, really, because it was altitude. It wasn't so you didn't go long distances, but what you did do was without enough oxygen to do it.
So how did you train for it?
Well, we just did lots and lots of walking, really. We walked around Ipswich, I think, because I lived in Ipswich at the time, so we'd just go out 2-3 times a week. I did go to the gym, which I hadn't done for many a year.
Suffolk is fairly flat walking.
Yes, exactly.
And Killy is not.
And Killy is not. So we came and ran up and down Bent Hill a bit here in Felixstowe. But I mean, I remember going to the gym and the woman said, right, we need to get your core strengthened.
Core strength.
And I'd never heard of a core at that point. So I did lots of work in the gym as well. But really, Kilimanjaro, it was the fact that you didn't have enough oxygen to keep you going, and you didn't do very long walks. I mean, the only real climbing was the last day, which is when you go up and you go down again.
So how many days was it?
So we did, I think, 10 days. So, but it's simply to try and acclimatise you.
Yes.
So you set off. It's a guided thing,
Yes.
and you slowly make your way along, and you camp overnight in tents.
Wow.
So, and so you basically take quite a long time to try and get there in an effort to get your body used to the level, the altitude.
Yeah, the altitude, yes.
And then the last day, you set off at 10 at night.
10 at night?
10 at night, because it's all dust, it's volcanic ash, and at night it's frozen solid.
Oh, right.
And so it's actually easier walking. So you set off, you climb through the night, you've got these stars above. I can't tell you how beautiful those stars were.
Wow.
And if you have timed it right, you get to the rim itself as dawn arrives. I was a bit slow, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I wasn't very well. I didn't eat well, and I had quite a tummy upset, so I was quite lacking in energy. But I did manage to get there. I just remember standing looking as the sun rose and the stars in the sky, and feeling I was the only person there. It was so moving.
It must have been.
It was amazing. And then they whisk you down. You actually come down really quickly, like 2 or 3 different levels within the next day.
Did you have a moment where you actually wondered if you were going to make it? Or
I think on the walk itself I was really quite slow. I'd run out of energy and so on, but there was one of the guides who was lovely. He just stayed with me and took my rucksack, and if it hadn't been for him I wouldn't have done it.
Brilliant.
But looking back, it's amazing what you can do. It taught me an awful lot
about yourself.
And I'd like to in a bit of me would like to go back and do it, and actually, because I got to the rim, but if you walked round the rim you actually went a tad higher.
Oh, so you want to go back?
So you had so really I didn't get to the very, very top. I got to the rim, but I didn't get to the top. But I'm not sure at my age that it would be sensible. I think maybe just say I've done it.
That's interesting, because sometimes you do a challenge and it makes spurs you on to do another challenge, doesn't it? You want to do a bit more.
But it did, didn't it? Because then we did. That's when we did our longer walk, didn't we?
So let's talk. How did that come about?
You know, don't you? So I think, well, we were doing some more fundraising at BBC Radio Suffolk for Suffolk Family Carers for a bus, and I thought I want to do another walk, but I would like to do one locally. And I was talking to this chap called David Falk, I think, if I remember rightly, and mentioning it to him, and he sort of sent me a message later in the day saying, well, why don't you do the Suffolk coast all in one fell swoop?
I remember it well. I came into the studios and we chatted over a coffee about doing a challenge, and we were struggling to find a really good challenge to do. We came up with lots of ideas, and when I left the BBC studios, I remember going to a pub and having a bottle of cider, and I was drinking this bottle of cider, and suddenly I wrote down on this napkin 60 miles, 3 miles an hour divided by 20 hours, that's a day. We could do this. And I remember I got in touch and you said, is it possible? And I said, just. And you said, that's perfect.
I said, that's perfect if you will do it as well, if you remember.
That's right. We had to do it together. And then we roped in 2 other people as well.
And that, I think I enjoyed that almost more, really. Killy taught me a lot about myself, and coming back when the people just donated so much money, I found that was more moving than the walk itself. I had people just dropping in cheques and cash, £1,100, and we raised so much money. But the walk itself along the coast, it was amazing to see our coast. You went to places in between where people visit, don't you? So people go down to the coast, but they don't tend to walk the length. And it did change. Beautiful sights.
It was, and it changed a lot. We started off in Lowestoft in incredible rain.
Yeah, it was an amber yellow, an amber weather warning.
What were we thinking?
Really chucking it down, wasn't it?
I remember one of the people in our group, Nick, he was wearing like this cagoule thing, and by the time we got to Southold, it was shredded. It was literally shredded into rags.
I remember following him along the beach, and it was just all you could hear was this flapping and flapping and flapping.
And it was bright orange, so it was quite good. You could see him from a distance. And we finished here in Landguard, which was really special as well, on a day not too dissimilar to now. It was sunshine, so within 24 hours we've gone from this incredible, almost gale force winds to perfect, calm blue sky.
And that walk, because we came across, didn't we, on the ferry, and then we walked through Felixstowe, and the breakfast show was on, and so we were doing live reports, weren't we, on the radio as we had done, and people were coming and giving us money. But as we walked through the town, it was summer holidays, I think. People were on the beach, or at least there were people there, and I thought, I didn't know how lovely Felixstowe was, and it was that first thought from then that triggered, and in the end we moved here. So it was one of my first, There
were some special moments. Do you have a sort of a lasting memory of that 24-hour walk? And I should say we did it in 24 hours and about 50 minutes. That's how long it took us. So it's quite good.
Various things. I loved the in-between places. Do you remember Cove Hythe and those trees on the beach? We sat in the shelter, didn't we, at Benwick Broad when it was still blowing. The bit after Walberswick, you go through the reeds there and walk along there. That bit of coast was beautiful.
Yes.
I do remember when a certain David Falk and Jane, who was walking as well, when they say we must pace it up a bit, and I nearly had to run to keep up with you. You could walk really fast, and I sort of trying to keep
got long legs. There was something. I was going to mention. I remember very much walking at night. That was really special, I thought. Yeah. And there was a magic moment when we got through Aldborough, and we were exactly halfway along the walk, and we had a big group hug, and then we walked up the Sailors' Path, and we got to Snake Maltings, where the owners invited us into their house, and we had scones and tea with them at about midnight in their kitchen, which was fun. Then we walked through Tunstall Forest and ended up at Chilsford, didn't we, at the Froy's Inn.
Sticky toffee pudding.
At 2:30 in the morning. And then my most magic moment was probably seeing the sunrise over Havergate Island. That was really extraordinary.
That was a really long stomp, wasn't it, along the river there?
It was.
Because it was really early in the morning. I remember someone on the radio saying, I can't believe they're still walking. I've had a whole night's sleep. And that night walk, there were two things on that night walk. The sound of the birds. I thought waders went to sleep, but they don't. They were still out on the river. You could hear them, you couldn't see them. And the other was, as we walked through the fields, lots of pig farms. And do you remember seeing those pigs? Lots of young pigs in a big pen. Must have been 60 or 70 of them, all asleep, snuggling up together and snoring. We peered over at them.
That's right. That was extraordinary. That was magic. That was a magic moment. There was another magic moment, which is where I think you and Jane took out flasks of whiskey, and we had to.
What was the hill that we were on?
Burrow Hill.
Burrow Hill. We planned that, and that was the thing about doing these long walks, and it's the same with Killy and that as well. If you're doing a long walk, don't think of the whole distance.
Yes.
Killy, it was broken into days. Right. Our long walk, you organised it all, really. Yes. We stopped every so often at a pub that they all looked after us really well, and we'd change our socks, have something to eat.
Yes.
But you never thought of a whole 60 miles. You thought of the next 5, the next 6.
That was something you said, and it really hit me when you did that, because I was thinking of it as a long 60-mile walk, and we had to do it in 24 hours. And you said, don't talk of it like that. It was 5 miles to this point, it's 2 miles to that point, and so on. And when you broke it up, mentally it became much easier.
Just never thought of it as we're going to be still here tomorrow. You thought, where's the next one? Oh, sticky toffee pudding at the Froy's at 2:30.
that was a good pull, I think.
My friends Bill and Marley met us at Shingle Street with champagne. Do you remember?
Did. Yes, I couldn't drink any.
You went well at that point.
No,
you ran out of sugar.
I ran out of sugar. Yes, I had to drink lots of sweet tea and drink fruit juices, and then I was better. And when we got to, as you mentioned about crossing over at Bawdsey, when we got into Felixstowe, I had a second wind, and I literally ran.
You suddenly left us in distance.
It was amazing. Lesley, you do the afternoon show on BBC Radio Suffolk. Have you always done the afternoon show? Has that always been your slot as well?
It's what I started doing there, and I've done other things in between, but it is really my natural home. It sort of feels right, and I can do the subjects that I love, like walking and history, all those sort of added value to life subjects. So it is, and I've been doing this show in its own format for quite a few years now. So.
And the show, it covers a lot about Suffolk, as you said, the history, that you interview a lot of people, don't you? So you must have interviewed lots of people over the
years. Yeah, well, everyone has just people have fascinating stories to tell, isn't it? And that's just, I'm just so lucky that I don't have to deal with the daily news or whatever. I can just talk to people about Suffolk, about what they do. It's just all those lovely, interesting things.
Have you interviewed some very famous people?
I suppose so. Anthony Horowitz, I suppose, is a good name, isn't he? But he's a Suffolk
Yes.
chap these days and an author, so I've spoken to him. Gordon Brown, when he was Prime Minister, came and sat on my sofa briefly.
Oh, that must have been brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. He was just doing an election campaign and said he wanted to come to BBC Radio Suffolk, and it happened to be while I was on air.
Did I read correctly, years ago, did you interview Billy Connolly?
That's a long time ago. So when I worked at BBC Radio Norfolk, which was where I first started out, and I was very young, we had our radio station really near to the Theatre Royal in Norwich, and so lots of the people would come from the Theatre Royal and just come into the studios.
Wow.
Max Boyce, Billy Connolly, Diana Dawes.
Oh wow!
I got sent out as a very junior reporter to this couple who were at I think it was a window place, double glazing, and they happened to be there to do a bit of publicity. Morecambe and Wise.
No.
Yes.
That must be magical.
It was amazing. I was really worried because people say, "Oh, just turn up, they'll be all right." And I said, "No, because I've got to have questions to feed to them." So I had a list of questions, and so I'd ask them the question, and then there'd be 2 minutes of them just gently taking the mickey out of me about my short, fat, hairy legs, and all that. They were lovely. They were very funny, very funny.
I think Eric Morecambe's one of the most funniest people I've ever seen on TV. Actually, just naturally funny. So did you always want to be in radio?
I never no, don't tell people like Mark who spent their whole lives. I never planned it. I went to university in Bradford. We had someone come over to give us a lecture on local radio from Radio Leeds, and I said, after she'd talked to us about local radio, I thought, that sounds fascinating, and I asked if I could go back to her studios, and from there on, that was it. She let me go and answer the phones for them. They trained me. I ended up doing radio car work for them, and then when I came back home to Norfolk, Radio Norfolk opened, so I fell into it. But the minute I walked into a radio station, I knew that was it.
That was it, yes.
Yeah, wow. It's just, I love it. I'm so lucky.
You are lucky. And I think the show's brilliant, by the way. It's absolutely superb. And we were talking about interviewing then. Do you find, is it sometimes the people that are lesser known that in a funny way are more interesting to interview?
Yeah, it is. It's just the stories people have to tell, isn't it? And just people who've done amazing things in their lives.
Yes.
I mean, just yesterday, Shelley, she's done photography, but not just any photography, fine art photography. She takes up to a year to take a photo of a vase of flowers in the style of the Dutch masters.
Oh, wow.
And she lives in Suffolk. It's just, it's just amazing. Someone else, the other week we discovered people living, I can't remember which village it was, but they, these days they live in the county, they make dog collars with diamantes on them, but they actually worked originally in leather work, and they've worked for stars in the West End, and you just don't know what stories you're going to come across in the
county. After doing the show and so forth for some time, but you never run out of stories then?
No, you can be scared, you will. I mean, the downside is you're always on the alert, aren't you? So I'm never switched off. If I bump into someone, I'm out and about, I say, "Oh, have you got a card?" We went to the food, there was an artisan market at the weekend, and so I went round and bought lovely things, but I was also saying, can I have a card?
I love that. I love that.
So woe betide, David, you know very well.
I'll give you my card.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Lesley, you must know Suffolk really intimately through the show and through walking as well. Do you have a favourite spot in Suffolk that you love to go to or explore?
That's so difficult.
Is that like asking who's your favourite child?
Because it depends on the day and the weather and how you're feeling, doesn't it? I mean, I have to say, I think we've moved to one of the best places. I love living in Felixstowe. It's been a revelation. I loved it when I lived in Long Melford. You could walk across the countryside, walk up Kentwell Hall Drive. Mum and Dad live in Orford, and I love visiting Shingle Street with them. The bleakness. I mean, who could ask for anything more bleak? It's just amazing. It's like the end of the world, isn't it? There's not one place. Just Suffolk, I think, is my answer. Is that allowed?
You can say that, definitely. It's quite a distinctive county, I think. I've got friends who come to Suffolk and think it's very flat. I've got a friend who described it as sleepy Suffolk. It's none of those things at all, is it?
Not if you come and you start to delve into it, is it? And with Dolphin Start, we visit places that most people never hear of, even though they've lived all their lives. I'll drive through a village and think, that's where it is.
I do enjoy the Dolphin Start, the quiz. I especially enjoy the cryptic clues. I do like those. Do you set those?
I do, mostly set those. I do have help from listeners who think I'm pretty useless at it. But sometimes I can't work them out, so they have to send me the answer. They'll send me a clue and I'll say, what's the answer? I don't understand.
I love it. But brilliant. But no, it is a varied county, and there are lots of magical spots in it, isn't there? And this is one of them. Lesley, we've been walking around Landguard Point. It's been absolutely brilliant. We've had a most fantastic day. We've bumped into some really interesting people as well who've identified some of the birds for us.
For us, now we know what a black redstart looks like.
I didn't know what it was 20 minutes ago.
I've just got to remember it. That's the trouble.
Lesley, thank you so much for walking with us on the Suffolk.
Can we do it every day, David?
We can, definitely. I'll be back at 9 o'clock tomorrow then. See you then. Thank you. The Suffolk Walking Festival is one of the country's largest and longest running walking festivals. The festival takes place every May with over 100 walks and countryside events across the county. Visit suffolkwalkingfestival.co.uk for more information and follow us on Facebook for up-to-date news. Thank you to David Stainer and Scott Dolling of the duo Silbury Hill for the use of their music in this podcast.